Earlier this month in Afghanistan, the Taliban said women had to wear a face veil whilst in public. Since then, the Taliban have ordered female television presenters and other women on screen to cover their faces whilst on air. The decree came in on Sunday and the move has been met with criticism. Rachel Stanton reports.
A new normal on Afghanistan's TV screens. Female presenters and other women on air now have to wear face coverings. The ruling comes 2 weeks after the Taliban ordered all women to wear a face veil in public or risk punishment.
If such decrees are issued and imposed on women, then women across Afghanistan will be eliminated. A presenter must feel totally calm and relaxed to convey the truth. But for the first time, I had to present my program wearing a mask, and I wasn't feeling good at all.
In an act of solidarity with his female colleagues, the anchor of the main evening bulletin wore a face covering whilst broadcasting live to the nation. Other male colleagues also wore face masks in the channel's offices in support. Broadcasters say they were told they had to comply with the order.
We were told you are forced to do it. You must do it. There is no other way.
A spokesman for the Ministry of Vice and Virtue said, "We have no intention of removing women from the public scene or sidelining them or stripping them of their right to work." When the Taliban took control of the country last year, they vowed to honour women's rights. But since the takeover, many restrictions have been put in place.
It's really unthinkable that in 2022 we're seeing the same kinds of abuses against women and girls that the Taliban imposed in 1996 when they last took power. Their overall strategy seems to be to completely erase women and girls from public life.
But for now, these Afghan women presenting the news remain defiant. Rachel Stanton, BBC News.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Tolo News presenter Farida Sial, live from Afghanistan. And I'm also joining us here is Asma Shirazi. She's a journalist and anchor from Pakistan's Aaj News. Thank you both for joining us here on the programme. Farida, I just want to begin with you. I want you to tell our audiences how you learnt about this decision and how it made you feel.
Thank you, Hilda. When the Taliban come to the news and said that our news head that the presenter should be wear a mask, actually I was so sad about this, the decisions that why in the 20th century that in Afghanistan women should be obligated to wear masks. As a woman, I shame that why I shame for my human being. I'm shame for that why I'm a woman, and it's very difficult for me to wear a mask and presenting and sit in front of the camera. Though I just presenting in the morning show and I just give little information in morning, but it's very difficult for me to wearing a mask and standing in front of camera and presenting the news. It's very difficult for us, and we, as like the journalists, they wearing the mask, we haven't any way, and this is a very bad news for us. The Taliban trying to remove us from the public life, and I think this is the second step of their decisions that they are trying to make women erased from the public life.
Are you worried that eventually you'll be asked to be removed from screen completely?
Yes. I'm very concerned about my security job. I'm concerned about that this other days that the Taliban will come and say that the voice of women are haram and they are not allowed to sitting in front of camera and representing the news. And I'm concerned about that, and I'm sure that the Taliban will do this because they said in the order that the best hijab is burqa, And when they said that the presenter should be wear burqa, it is impossible. It's possible that we wear mask like now I wear. I'm presenting. It's difficult, but it's possible. But if the Taliban said that no, it's not the best hijab is burqa, and you should wear burqa, then in this time, I am assured that I lost my job, and this will be the decision that they will remove us, and they will say to us that just sit at home and you're not allowed to go to your work.
I'm just going to bring in Asma into the conversation. Asma, you're incredibly well known in Pakistan. You yourself wear a headscarf on screen, but that is your choice. Just tell me a little bit about your reaction to hearing what Farida is saying.
Thank you so much, Yalda, for having me on your show. But naturally, the question you asked, this issue is very close to my heart because it's very condemnable, highly condemnable, and this cannot be acceptable for any free society anywhere in the world. Under the Human Rights Charter and, under the human rights violations. So I think this cannot be appreciated by any government, any people, any person or any individual, because this action actually restraints for women to live their life, to make their choices, what to wear, what not to wear. So I think this is highly condemnable.
I mean, the Taliban say that they're doing this because it's a requirement under Islam. Pakistan is an Islamic country. You are a television presenter. You wear a headscarf. Do you think there's any sense in what they're saying?
Actually, it's not, nobody can say like this is sensible at all. I mean, this is not acceptable as in Islam. There is the personal choice is also important, and when mandatory thing is there, the only thing to cover their head. So why Taliban are forcing to cover their faces? I mean, in a free society and in a world where the human rights are very important. I mean, everybody knows that the humans have their choices. So I think this is not Islamic at all. I mean, they cannot force people and women actually to cover their faces when they are covering their heads. So I think as long as the covering the head is there, it's mandatory to cover your faces according to Islam. So I don't think that this is Islamic. It's a mindset, and it's a male chauvinism to show the authority on women, to force them to make it a choice as they want. So I don't think this is highly condemnable.
Have you ever felt any pressure to put the headscarf on, or any other female colleagues in Pakistan by the Pakistani government, state, or within your newsroom?
Never, Yalda, never. We never felt that pressure from the state, from the government, from any private organization in Pakistan to cover our heads or not to cover our heads. Rather, I would like to share my experience when I joined Pakistan Television. It's a state-owned television in 2000, and they asked me to remove the headscarf to be on television, which I refused actually, because this is my choice to cover my head. Nobody can force me to put it on or put it off. I mean, this is my choice what to wear, what not to wear. So this is totally a different thing. In Pakistan, in organization, and when I joined GeoTV, they asked me actually that I can report with headscarf. So I think it's never asked in Pakistan, but in few areas, actually, we are worried about the situation because Afghanistan is our neighbor society, and there is an impact of the decision of Talibanization and Taliban in our society as well. As you like it or not, we have also footprints in our society of Taliban. So I think this is worrisome for us, and it's not acceptable because they can have the impact in our society as well by doing this.
Farida, I mean, you're listening here to what Asma is saying, an Islamic country. Pakistan is a neighbouring country. But she's saying that state television actually asked her to take her headscarf off. She refused. It's her personal choice. Do you think that for as long as the Taliban are in power, you will ever be able to have your choices again?
No, I don't think so. this is our choice that we, like according to Islam, that women should be wear scarf, or they should be hide their hair, like these things. Or in Islam, like we are Muslims and we accept what Islam says, like we hide our hair and we wear the clothes according to Islam. But it's not in Islam that the when you presenting in front of camera and you wearing mask and you just hide your identity, that this order of Taliban gives your identity. But in the existence of Taliban, I don't think so that we are free to choose what we want, and they will be never allow us. And I think the Taliban, the coming order will be that the women journalists in Afghanistan should be removed totally from the space. And they will decide that voice of women are haram in media. And actually, we have some friends that they are working in provinces. They said that in radios, the Taliban said that the women journalists are not allowed to talk with the men when they call to the radio. So I think in Kabul, they will be also implemented this order, that the coming order maybe will be that the women are not allowed to talking in front of camera. And now they are not allowed to show their face. They are not allowed to show their eyes, and they are not allowed to talk and they are not allowed their voice or haram. So in the existence of Taliban, I don't think so that they allow us or they free us to choose what we want.
I just want to show our viewers these images of your male colleagues, Farida, at Tolo News, choosing to cover their faces in the newsroom and also on screen in solidarity with the women who have been forced to do this. Just tell me what that was like to see one group of men who are currently running the country forcing you to cover your face, and then to see this kind of solidarity, which frankly is incredibly courageous, incredibly bold and brave from these men, because there could be, frankly, repercussions to this.
Yeah. I think, Yelda, there is the different ideas. Like the Taliban gives order that the woman should be covered their face, and they are not allowed to talking in front of camera with their without hijab. But in the other side, we have a men that they wearing mask and covering their face for solidarity with us. So there is the different ideas. Like it's about their mindset, and it's about the logic that they have. Let's think about the male colleague that they are presenting with us in the newsrooms, or they are working with us. They know that such a difficult that a woman journalist sitting in front of camera and presenting news for 2 or 3 hours consecutively. It's very difficult when they wearing mask. They have a sense of that how it's difficult to wearing. We face with the lack of oxygen, we face with the lack of breath. What we feel, they like feeling. But if a Talib come to newsroom and just sitting with us or in front of camera and wearing mask for 2 or 3 hours consecutively, and they talk, they will be feeling that how it's difficult. So there's the difference that the Taliban never experienced these things. They just give orders, and our colleagues also, they experience these things, that they know how it's difficult. So the difference is there, and they know that the women in Islam have rights, like our de facto authority says that we gives the women's the rights that Islam gives for the women. Okay, Islam gives us rights, but not the rights that I'm covering my face with. It's very difficult for me. There's the difference is there, that what we experience, our colleagues also experience. But what we experience, the Taliban never experienced these things.
Yeah, I just wanted, Asma, you were nodding there, just listening to Farida. You obviously agree with what she's saying.
Yeah, actually, she's correct and she's right that this is our choice. I mean, this is in Islam. There is nothing to. It's mandatory to cover your head, but it's not mandatory to cover your face. And how can you allow someone to dictate in their lives what to wear and what not to wear? So I think the resilient women of Afghan society and Afghan women are very resilient. They are showing the resilience, and I'm so proud of them. I mean, the male colleagues of that society and male colleagues of Afghan TV television, they showed the solidarity with women journalists. And, the journalists who are working actually over there in those circumstances, and, they are showing the resilience. It's marvelous. It's unprecedented. And I think the resilience matters. And I'm so proud of them. And I think the women in this region, we also must show the solidarity with Afghan women. The international community should also put the pressure on the Taliban government to not to dictate them what to wear and what not to wear. And you have seen that in Pakistan also, once our former Prime Minister, he showed his intentions and he passed few remarks that on women dresses. It was there was a hue and cry in Pakistani society, and we condemn that also. So I think it matters a lot, and I think and I expect from the society, from our society as well, to condemn this act and to stand with the women journalists in Afghanistan.
Asma, Farida, thank you so much both for joining us here on the program and sharing your thoughts. Thank you.